Hey there guys, this is Vest Guy. Welcome to Vest Top 5, and today we're talking about the top 5 weakest Denzel Washington films. This was tough because I looked up through his whole IMDb list, and almost all his movies are really good. It was hard, but he has made some movies that are weak. I wouldn't call them terrible movies. Some people might call them terrible movies, but I don't think they're horrible. And he's actually, in all of these 5 films, he's actually the best part about the films. It just so happens that they don't stand out as much of the films that are in his top 5. So let's get into the list. So number 5 is a movie that is a guilty pleasure of mine. I really enjoy this movie. I own it on DVD, and I don't know if there's a Blu-ray of it. I remember seeing it when it first came out in 95, and I think it was ahead of its time in many ways in terms of visual effects. In terms of story, it's a little derivative, and that movie is Virtuosity. This movie stars Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe, and it's pretty much Denzel Washington plays a convict who is used as pretty much a puppet to be placed in a virtual reality world where they're training cops to take down serial killers. And this is a virtual world in order to train them for the real world. And one of the virtual characters is played by Russell Crowe, who's Sid 6.7, this maniacal, crazy, like serial killer, computer-generated character. And I won't explain how it happens, but he escapes from the virtual world into the real world, and now he's after Denzel Washington's character for a specific reason that I can't reveal because it will kind of give you a twist in the film, which is not that big of a twist, but it is a twist nonetheless. So I don't want to spoil the movie. I enjoyed it. If you turn your brain off and just watch it for the action and for the effects, you're gonna have a good time. And you know, you can tell with some of the dialogue Denzel has that he does the best he can with what he was given. It's very generic, but I enjoy it. It's the guilty pleasure of mine. So that was number 5. Number 4 is a movie that he did in 1988. And this movie, I actually saw the whole thing on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube, and it's called For Queen and Country. He did this movie in the UK, and he actually has a British accent. And curiously enough, he does a really convincing British accent. Like when I was watching, like, whoa, I didn't know Denzel was from the UK. But no, he's doing a British accent. And it's not a bad movie, it's just very average. And there's nothing special about it. It's very straightforward. He has to do a specific thing, it goes through the motions, and end of story. It's nothing special. But you can tell this is one of his early films. He was like in his early 30s or late 20s. This is a lot better than Virtuosity, because Virtuosity has some cringe-worthy dialogue, which Denzel does better than he can with what he was given. But here, there's pretty decent dialogue and there's some pretty good exchanges. It's just that it's not special. It's nothing that stands out other than his performance. So number 3 is a movie that was also released around the same time, and it's called The Mighty Quinn. And this film, I think, was shot in Jamaica. And he does a Jamaican accent. And unlike the British accent that he did for Queen and Country, the Jamaican accent he has for Mighty Quinn is pretty bad. This movie drags. I'm sorry, I've tried watching this movie several times, and it's hard to get through. Denzel Washington even sings in this movie, and he's playing a piano, and he does a pretty good job. But again, it's supposed to be a crime thriller film where someone gets killed and he's an investigative guy in Jamaica. And they could have done so much with this film using the location, because there is some good cinematography in the movie. It's just that not much happens. Robert Townsend is in this movie playing also Jamaican, and he kind of does a better convincing Jamaican accent than Denzel Washington. But again, it's just a very bland, non-eventful movie that they could have done so much with. Sadly, they had a good, they had a good location. They just didn't use it to their advantage. So that's number 3. Now we're going into the top 2 weakest Denzel Washington movies, and these 2 films were early in his career. And one of them was made right after he did Glory. And Glory is a great movie, but the one that followed was a movie he did called Heart Condition with Bob Hoskins. This movie, I like it, but it's really bad. So this is the story of Heart Condition. Denzel Washington gets killed, And Bob Hoskins is a degenerate, drinking, hamburger eating guy, and he gets a heart attack. And then he gets a heart transplant, and the heart that he gets is from Denzel Washington. Now he's seeing Denzel Washington's ghost, telling him that he has to help him find the guy who killed him. And along the way, he's teaching him how to stop drinking and stop eating hamburgers. I'm serious, this is the plot for Heart Condition. This movie was so forgotten, because no one remembers this movie, and so bad for a lot of people that even Denzel Washington himself fired his agent after he made this film. Can you imagine going from an Academy Award-winning film like Glory then to like Heart Condition? Is it a terrible, terrible movie? No, the problem with this movie is that it's miscasted. And the chemistry between Bob Hoskins and Denzel Washington is just not there. It's just the two weirdest pair. It's like putting, I don't know, Adam Sandler and Jason Statham in one movie. You know,
that sounds like an awesome movie.
That would be terrible. Can you imagine? Oi, we gotta go and find this killer. I don't know. It would be really weird. There's a problem with Bob Hoskins and Denzel Washington in the same movie.
Yabba dabba doo.
Yabba dabba doo. Number one, what can be worse than Heart Condition? And this is a movie that he did also around the 80s. It was actually the first film he did. It's called Carbon Copy. And I also own this movie. So Carbon Copy tells a story of this rich white guy who finds out he has a son, and the son is Denzel Washington. That's the plot of the film. And the whole joke, this film is very dated, and it's actually pretty racist when you look at it. There's a scene where Denzel Washington, the father doesn't know how to bond with him, so he takes him to play basketball. And they're playing basketball, and Denzel Washington sucks at it, and the white guy is like, "But come on, you're supposed to be good at this." It's pretty racist. You can tell Denzel Washington hated this film, and there's some lines that I'm pretty sure weren't on that script, where he keeps calling his dad honky and just like cursing the crap out of him, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't on the script. But even look at the cover for the movie. It looks so like the cover kind of looks like, I promise you, we're not racist. But it's just so bad. But it's trying to be like a John Hughes movie, but it fails miserably. It's like a product of its time. It was released in the 80s. So that's the worst one that he ever did. But even though it's the worst one, he gave a great performance, just to show you how good of an actor he is. So those are the 5 weakest ones, amongst like 100 movies that he's done. They're all amazing. Anyway, guys, is there a Denzel Washington movie that I didn't mention that should be on this list? I don't think so. So don't even put it on the comment section, because all his other movies are great, believe me. So I'm Best Guy. They also call me Sebastian. Sometimes they call me Pendejo. Sometimes they call me Chode. But you should only call me Best Guy. So this was Best Top 5. Until next time.